Hey there, welcome to Faithful Man. I'm Chris Huffman. Every day becoming a better man, and in the process, hopefully helping you do the same. Just putting our coaching material out there. We've got coaching programs. I'm going to pause this because I want to get a cup of coffee. All right, so we're back. Got me my cup of coffee. Putting our our coaching program in a package, but also putting it out there free. So however you get it, amen and amen. We're leaving in the Lord's hands. We're not worried about any of that. We're just trying to obey Him. So a little bit about me and what Faithful Man is and where it came from. Now let's see, is this a smudge? Yeah, that's a smudge, okay. This whole thing started 11 years ago, this next month, June 15th, Father's Day, 2015, 11 years, when my world fell apart. My wife left, took the kids. Now, she wasn't planning on staying gone, but she needed a break, and I understand. The night before, I had a stupid, angry fit. Now, even though I put a lot of free content out, stuff that will absolutely help you, there are some things that I keep very private and only for those who invest into our programs. Some very deep things, some very dark things, some very vulnerable things, and honest things that I will only let those in our inner circle know about. But I'd had one of my bad moments the night before, and they took off. Came back in 3 days, and I did something very stupid, and they left. Never came back. That started me on a journey. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to remember. So the first year, I started working on myself. I didn't know at what level. I can't remember at what level I actually started working on myself. But, I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was angry. I was confused. I wasn't taking blame or responsibility. How dare she leave? And I didn't go off the deep end. I was never a smoker or a drinker, but then I started smoking and drinking a little bit, but I never even really inhaled the cigarettes. I never finished a six-pack. I threw a lot of stuff away. I never got drunk. I never did that stuff, but I was depressed. And at some level, started working on myself. So that was June of 2015. First few months was kind of rough, but we were back on communication, a lot of texting. I went out there in July. They moved back home. We were currently in Tennessee. They moved back to New Mexico. And I went out there for my dad's, I believe, his 70th birthday at that time. Yeah, it wouldn't have been. Yeah, 70th. He would have been, anyway, one of his birthdays. And I hooked up with her and the kids. Some things were happening. I had my own business. It was growing, pest control. Started working with my buddy and helping him with his duct cleaning and some environmental stuff for the contract he got with the city. And so I was making good money again. But I was still a prideful and angry man. And my jabroni friend did something stupid. He didn't keep his word with me. I was going to take some income away, and I just said, screw you, and just left in anger. And wasn't considering my wife or the fears of my wife with the finances. So let me go to an event that happened before then. So sometime, I believe, in August or September of 2015, we were pretty healed. It's always hard to rehash this stuff. We met in North Carolina and had a wonderful time. Absolutely wonderful time. If I had to pick all of the times we'd had in 25 years together, dating and being married, it was that weekend was like a couple of kids. It was wonderful. Within 3 days, we'd had sex 9 times. We were going to a marriage renewal thing, and it was flipping, stinking wonderful. She was on her way back. We sometime next couple months later, we met again in Chicago to see one of our friends graduate from Naval Academy. And she rented a big Ford Transit to bring stuff to me that I could take back to the house. We were getting back together. But I was not where I needed to be. And I wasn't changing just to win her back. I was fundamentally changing because I needed to change. And yes, I wanted her back. I wanted the kids back. But there was still a lot of stuff that wasn't being dealt with. And me not considering her and the kids in my actions. And so when we were all there with a couple other families and all their kids and my kids and everybody just having a good time, I wanted sex. Well, the kids were with us in the room, and there was just a lot going on, a lot of hectic, and I was not considering my wife. And so we didn't argue. I don't remember there being any kind of real fighting, but there was definite frustration because I was trying to get sex and I wasn't considering the environment necessary put my wife at ease. And we did not have sex. But I had to say goodbye to my wife and kids again, and it was a sorrowful moment. But I had hope because they were on their way back. Fast forward again to that story about my friend. So I lost half my income. And I tell my wife that, not thinking how that would affect her. But me having the stable income I had with my own business, the additional income I had with him, it was giving her some sense of security, and then I just flippantly blew it off with my friend. And that caused a whole bunch of stuff to come up in her again. And so over the next couple months, we were settling on a time where she was coming back, and I started noticing it was more of a hem haul around and things weren't getting settled and whatnot. She finally just told me one night she's not coming back. And it just broke me again. It broke me again. I'm screaming, crying. No. So I had to go back. I had to be with my wife and kids. I had to man up. And so I let everything go, got rid of what I could, let the business go, successful business. The first year I started on my own on pest control, did it part-time, and my boss I was working for in pest control gave me permission to do it. Made $24,000. The second year when I went full-time, made $42,000. Had never made more than $40,000 with any job. Third year made $60,000, and we're still together. I'm not being the husband and father I need to be, but the business is growing. I'm making a lot of selfish decisions. I'm making my wife make groceries work for the kids at $50 a week. It's just completely stupid when I think about it now, but that's where we were, $50 a week for groceries, and she was making it work. And just all kinds of other things that I was not doing and was doing that were negative things. The fourth year, we were on schedule to make $75,000. And she left, and I didn't do a thing for the business. I didn't promote. I didn't advertise. It was just word of mouth and the Lord's timing. I still get mad at God. I feel that anger in me right now. Why did he let me stay so blind to who I was as a man and a husband and a father, but was letting the business grow? I cannot comprehend it today, and it pisses me off still. But I got to keep looking to him. I got to keep trusting him. And that's what we teach. One of these things we teach here at Faithful Man, that these emotions are real. We want you to be raw. We want you to be honest with yourself and with God. And that's especially in private. So when you get out there in public, it's not an issue. You've dealt with it in your private time. And that particular aspect of this whole journey still makes me mad. So I went back to New Mexico, and I know the Lord was in it. I knew I was doing what I needed to do as a man. I found a house right next door to where they were living. Well, at first I got into an apartment, and my wife was right with me again, was very happy I was there. She wanted to be with me. She was coming down to the apartment. We were having sex. Things were going good. I tried to get my own stuff going again, but for 2 or 3 months my stuff wasn't going, if I even let it last that long. So I got back into construction, HVAC, sheet metal work, and I got with a company that wanted to help me be more of a service guy, which is what I wanted to do. And so I'm making the most money I've ever made consistently with taking a truck home, and my wife was just super turned on by the whole thing. And those three or 4 months there was absolutely wonderful. I mean, they were coming over, we were painting the house, we were reorganizing the house, we were doing landscaping for the house. She was sitting on my lap in front of the kids, we were making plans. I mean, it was just shy of us actually being in the same house together. Kids were jumping the fence, coming over. I mean, it was all flipping stinking wonderful. I mean, it was stinking wonderful. And then I lost that job. And that still pisses me off. Fighting the tears. See, I'm telling you, we have to be able to excuse me, talk about our past without living in the past and not beating ourselves up about the past, but being honest about the past. I don't live there anymore. I'm not that man anymore. But reliving it in order to help you, it's still hard for me. And when it happened, and Jerry said he had to let me go, it's the same thing I left construction for in the first place. The work dries up, the last guy ends, the first one to go, regardless. And when he told me that, I immediately asked him, I said, well, Jerry, is it me? Is there something I did wrong, something I'm not doing right? Because there's still a lot I had to learn. He said, he told me, he assured me it's not you. He assured me I'd rather keep you. But these 5 other guys that I have been with me for years, and I can't let them go. If I could find a way to keep you, let them go, I would rather do that. It's not you. He assured me it was not me. Because I was dealing with a lot of stuff about me. A lot of mistakes, a lot of failures, a lot of selfish, angry, prideful decisions I had made in the past that cost me jobs. And so I immediately went. I was at that stage in my life where I need to own this. If it's me, tell me. And he assured me it wasn't me. And I had a clear conscience. And he assured me it wasn't me. And if he could, he'd keep me. And I double checked. Are you sure? Is there some? He says, it's not you. I wish I could keep you. So I had peace about losing that job. But dag nabbit, it's in me again. Oh. Because then after that job, my wife lost hope again. It just looked like the same old me. And I got back into pest control. And without going into details, it doesn't make sense. Within a matter of a 5-month period, I went through 3 pest control companies. Every one of them was some weird, out of left field reason why I no longer had a job there. Just inexplicable, out of the ordinary, stupid stuff, totally out of control, totally out of my hands, had nothing to do with what I was doing or not doing. God was just not letting the job work out for me. And somewhere in that, I heard him tell me, quit chasing after a job, chase after God. Chase after me. He had put it in me years ago that I do not want you to have a J-O-B, just over broke. I want you to work for yourself. That I put something in you, and it was in me. But when I got there, I was trying to do stuff on my own again, and I just wasn't getting the work. The promised work from the contractors wasn't coming through. Then I get the great job. Then I lose the great job. Then I get and lose 3 jobs within 4 months, 5 or 6 months. And I'm pissed off now. What in the world? And my wife is totally shut down. So I get my life insurance license again. Find a good company. And life insurance is a good gig, but I did it before as a young man where I didn't care. I didn't feel like doing it. But now I'm in my late 40s, early 40s, and I'm going to make whatever I have to do work. And so I was going to make this work. And so I hooked up. They really liked me. They were training me. They flew a guy out to work with me specifically in the town I was living in. It still wasn't going as good as I wanted. I wasn't making the kind of money that you could make. There were still hurdles to cross over. But I was faithful. I was good. I had a good attitude. They liked me. The main boss of the company liked me. So they paid for me to go to a training that most guys at my stage of the game don't go to in San Antonio. And so I was halfway between New Mexico and Tennessee and Knoxville. So I did that training. And then I got some leads and went on into Knoxville to go see my buddy and at least work for him for a couple weeks and build up some cash. Well, he had all kinds of work for me, and my stuff started happening. And so 2 weeks turned into 2 months. I wasn't trying to sell insurance. I'm making good money. I told my wife and kids, hey, I'm staying out here. You ain't coming back. At least out here, I can provide for you financially. And just stayed in Knoxville. And it was financially it was great. Bought me another pickup. Bought me a couple trailers. Bought me a box truck. All things are used, but I'm making money. I'm paying half on a building me and my buddy are renting. And the last year I was there, within 3 or 4 years, that fourth year I made $150,000. And for a couple years before my wife and kids came back to Knoxville, I was driving. I was making 3 or 4 trips a year, driving, being on the road with my kids, a couple times paying for plane tickets. COVID hit, and where they wanted to take them during that time in Chicago, my wife didn't want me to. So I had to eat $3,000 or $4,000 just gone. But I probably spent $8,000 to $10,000 in a couple of years just traveling expenses. So things were good financially. I still had 2 kids at the house. Then COVID hit. Things weren't working out for my wife. She called me one day and asked what I thought she should do. And I said, you really want to know what I think you should do? Because I never let off that all I cared about was the marriage being restored. And I'm going to take my ownership, but at some point in time, you're going to have to make some decision to come back as well. But I'm not interested in being your friend. Okay? I said, you're really asking me what I think you should do. Yeah. I said, well, you got to come back to Knoxville. She said, well, I'm not going to live with you. I said, that's fine. But if you're in Knoxville, you guys are at least in the same town I'm in, and I'll help you do the move. And I paid for the move. I took my truck and trailer out there, got another truck. Other truck was gone. Now I bought a second truck, got out there with my truck and trailer, and moved her, all on my dime. Because I was moving them closer to me. I wasn't going to help them do anything else, move someplace else or anything like that, but I was going to pay to get them close to me. And so for the year and a half that they were there, living with my daughter and her husband, things were great. I was over there all the time, having dinner over there a couple times a week, over there watching movies, spending Halloween, all being in pajamas for Halloween, all being in pajamas for Christmas, having a great flippin' stinking time. No indication that the marriage is being restored, because at some point in time, my wife had actually told me, my kids had told me, they know I changed. There's no doubt that I changed. But my wife had stuck her feet so far in the ground, and she had so much influence from family and friends or whoever, that she'd got to the point that no matter what, she made that inner vow, I'm never going to go back. Okay? And God can still restore, and I'm still looking to Him for restoration. But I got to move on with my life. And that may or may not be another woman. I'm open to God leading me that way. And I've spent the last 4 or 5 months trying to push that envelope, and it ain't turned into jack diddly squat. So I still think He's going to restore the marriage. But then her dad got sick. She moved again. So I moved again. Living in the Aspen, Colorado Valley. Crazy expensive. And the Lord made provision in miraculous ways on getting me out there, finding me housing. I mean, it's a crazy, you can just almost rest assured that no matter where you are and what you pay for rent, it's going to be at least double, if not tripled, anywhere in that valley. I kid you not, a $250,000 mobile home on an acre of land, normal price, most parts of the United States, there, $1 million. And that's in the lower end of the valley, further away from Aspen. It's crazy, okay? I actually was homeless on 2 different occasions. In one, I was sleeping in my office in the nursery at the church I was helping in. The other one, I was sleeping in my warehouse. I finally started making some money, finally started having some good contracts, and for 6 or 7 months, things were really good. I got on the list for some housing. I was paying for the warehouse. The landlord was letting me stay there. I asked him, but then everything fell apart again. Just lost those contracts, wasn't getting any more traction. I had to get another job. The Lord was in me getting that job, but I was actually homeless for some time in my life. Ended up making some good money with this company. Found me a basement apartment. Had to deal with a couple idiot landlords. They're just drunken, stupid landlords that I had to live under. And then the Lord made it clear for me to move again. And I had to move again because my wife moved again. Her father died, and so she's moving again because it's too expensive to live in that valley. She was living on a ranch that her family was helping running. They were selling off parts, and her parts sold, and she had to move. And I wanted out of the valley anyway, so we moved. She moved to a town in Texas where she was originally going to go. But my daughter ended up having some major breakup with her boyfriend, who they moved there because his family was there and they offered him a job there. Some huge breakup that all things fell apart, so they're no longer going to stay in that town. Well, I'd already put a down payment on a place to stay and to work out of. And so I was, again, living in kind of a warehouse situation, temporary situation. I told the guy before I got out there, after I put the deposit down, I said, listen, I'm coming out anyway, but I just found out I'm probably not staying, but just so you know. And stayed there for 3 months, maybe. My wife and family took off to Lubbock when they settled in Lubbock because she's working from home now. And for tax reasons, they said she could be in Lubbock because that was the closest she could be to our son and our grandbabies in New Mexico, and still be part of the Texas tax bracket, whatever. So then I moved to Lubbock. And I like Lubbock. And I was on a piece of property, and how the Lord brought all that together is another story, but it was a beautiful thing. And I said, okay, Lord, I can make this work. For everything that you called me to do and want me to do, I can do on this property. And I just felt, man, this is where you're putting me. And how he arranged it. But no. I'd had to make it. Listen, I'll probably end on this. You've got to be able to let people you love go. And my family is still filtering me through my past. They still want to bring things up. They still want to beat me up. And a little over 6 months ago, one of my daughters did this one more time through a text message. And I told her, I said, I love you, but I'm not going to change. Okay? I have changed where I've needed to change. I have made things right with you all. These things you keep bringing up are in the past, and I'm not that same guy anymore. And just because you can't separate the real me from the bad me, and you still see things that I do, you can't separate them, the good from the bad, and they just remind you of things. That's your own demons. That's your own lack of forgiveness. But I'm not going to change who I am fundamentally. I'm still a man. I'm still God's man. I'm still a Christian. I still want to serve the Lord. I'm not as rigid as I used to be. I don't cast any judgment or condemnation on you guys. You know we've had great times together. But because you get bent out of shape of something you see on my social media, I've even backed off of that sometimes to try to be empathetic toward you, because I know it can be an embarrassment to y'all. But on some of these channels, I'm not going to change. And something was said, I just responded to a post, and she just let me have it, and I told her, I said, I'm not going to change. I've tried to do what I can to heal everything, but if you guys are still going to keep filtering me through my past, and if you want to cut me out, then I have to decide to be okay with that. And that was over 6 months ago. And I ain't heard anything from any of them. She got a hold of my other kids. And at the same time, my boy that was still at home was 16. I had already decided when he turned 16, he's man enough to reach out to me more on his own. So I was already going to back off of that and let him start reaching out to me on his own. But none of them have. And you have to be okay with that. You have to get to the point, and it'll release something in you. When I did that day with my daughter, and I sat back down on my chair and I cried a little bit, it's like I entered a whole new realm. A weight was lifted. That thing on me was keeping me hindered. And it's just part of the process. And since they all did that, they weren't keeping me informed about where they were, what they were doing. They weren't trying to have any kind of contact. I tried a couple times with my wife and daughter or son, still there in Lubbock. Hey, but they weren't reaching back out to me. I thought, well, then my friend in Knoxville needed help. And I just said, well, because I knew the Lord, part of what the Lord is calling me to do is going to happen in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so I just moved back to Knoxville, Tennessee. And that's where I'm at right now. So it's a process. And during all of that, the Lord has led me. I put several manuals together, sermon manuals, poetry, recording my dark times through journaling, and then our 10-step program for men. And that's what this is an introduction to. I wanted to give you a little bit of who I was, who I am, what Faithful Man is all about. And, my started with my wife leaving and ultimately a divorce, and me having to go from my emotional instability and confusion to emotional stability and clarity. We're trying to focus on businessmen and ministers between the ages of late 30s to early 50s, but this will apply to anybody who wants to invest time and money into our programs. But at the same time, we're putting the content out for free and leaving it in God's hands. But God gave me clear 10 steps, and we put it down, and we're working through it. And it's excellent material. That's took me at least 8 years to come up with this. And it's from the Lord, and He wants me to put it into the marketplace and to be a help. But that's who we are here at Faithful Man. So if you want to reach out to us, you can at our other current, probably temporary phone number, 970-404-7165, faithfulman513@gmail. You can direct message, put a note in the comment. If you want to reach out to us, we can jump on a free call, get you pointed in the right direction. But this is the introduction of our series of Faithful Man, our 10-step recovery program for men. Until we meet again, keep your eyes on Him.